Be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. So the other day, uh, I think today's Thursday. Yeah, today's Thursday. So the other day had to be Tuesday. Someone at work introduced me to the TikTok series for the girl named ReesaMTeesa or Reesa Teesa, right? And it's crazy, but it's probably not as uncommon as we think. It's just the fact that she stayed. It's not about who you attract because we think about the law of attraction, right? But it's not about who you attract, it's who you allow to stay. Because everybody comes into our life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. Sometimes we try to turn seasonal people into lifetime people. Her story is a perfect example of that. As I always say, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. She was desperate for a husband. So she ignored the red flags and non negotiable behaviors that he was showing her. And she admits that. She admits that she was desperate to get married. And she admits that she was ignoring the red flags. They were all over the place. A couple years ago, I was talking to a pathological. Well, I'm not even going to call him a pathological liar. I know that he lied a lot. And I was just like, yeah, I'm good. And I just cut it off because it was ridiculous. Um, First, it was like, oh, I, my niece gave me this lanyard, and it was like rainbow colored Swarovski crystals type of lanyard. Then a couple weeks later, there was a bracelet to match, but nothing was said about the bracelet. Then, probably um, a year later, you know, unexpectedly out of the blue, we had already, like, I had already cut it off, but it was like unexpectedly out of the blue, oh, I miss you, type of blah, 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 blah. My daughter, so now you go from allegedly your niece living with you who is autistic to now saying it's your daughter. Sorry about that. My nose was running. Anyway, so you go from it being your niece to it being your daughter. Um, and there were other lies. And again, when you first meet somebody, and this person love bombed me, like was gaslighting and like chasing, like really, chasing, pursuing, and come to find out you're not even single. You live with somebody. And it was like, when it came out, it was like, oh yeah, because so and so said they want to sleep with me. And I was like, oh no, I'm good. I have a girlfriend. And it's like, oh really? I didn't know that. Oh, I thought you knew. How could you think I knew if you didn't tell me? So, again, if you're confident, you know your worth and you know what you deserve, even if um, the person really is single, because in her video she mentioned that since she was married, she asked God, like, oh, okay, well, I just married a liar type of thing, and I have to just forgive him and move on. Is basically what she implied. But then she said she felt better when she realized he cheated, so now she had really had a reason to divorce him for infidelity. But some people don't think that way. First of all, When you notice the red flags, honestly, she should have never married him. And again, I understand that she was desperate, but you have to. And I know this is easier said than done because I know that when a man comes in and they love bomb you and they make you feel good and they tell you everything that they feel like you want to hear. Like for me, I acknowledge that this fool is just telling me what I want to hear. But when you notice that the actions don't line up, you have to remove yourself immediately. You don't play the game with them. Now, again, some people do play the game and they use and manipulate that person just like that person is doing to them. Like, I'm sure there are a lot of women who would just continue to use him for his money. Well, he's paying the bills, so I'm good. And that's fine, but you kind of have to understand what you're getting yourself into. Because when you have someone lying to you about everything, it 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 affects your mind. Again, these are mind games. That's why people call it playing games. And she has even admitted that she's not even the same person that she was before she met him, and she doesn't even know who she was before she met him. I mean, this was a eye-opening moment for her. So I'm sure she says she's not going to online date again, but I'm sure that she learned a lot from that situation, right? She learned a whole lot. And thankfully, she learned a whole lot. But this is sometimes when people don't want to date anymore because of things like this that happen. And not to say that she's, because we're not supposed to have that fear. We're still supposed to be up and open to love and know that it can come to us, right? But when you deal with multiple failed relationships, we'll call them, it sometimes it makes a person reluctant to take that next step with the next person. And I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen to her, but again, she doesn't even know who she is at this point. Um, and then, of course, there are people saying mean things to her, telling her that, because he said he was a VP of the warehouse he was working for, and come to find, oh no, he was a VP at the warehouse, but over production or something along those lines. Um, and so someone said, oh, a VP would never date someone who looks like you. And I was like, wow. But then when you see the picture of him, which I'm assuming is an accurate picture of him, it's possible that he could have been interested in someone like her. Um, and I hate saying it like that. I don't mean it like that. I'm trying to I'm doing my best to choose my words wisely. If he really was the VP, it wouldn't be so far fetched for him to be interested in, because he was plus size, right? She's plus size. Sometimes like attracts like. So sometimes opposites attract, and sometimes like attracts like. So it is not far fetched that if he was actually a vice president, he could have genuinely had interest in her. Every vice president of a company is not necessarily physically fit, um, and has a certain look that you would think they have. There are vice presidents and people who have um, high ranking quote unquote positions who are overweight or obese. And um, so I'm assuming that, and Um, Now, I'm not sure if they were talking about any facial features, but to me, she's a pretty lady. So I'm going to assume that comment was more directed toward her weight. But um, it's best to build up the confidence when you're within yourself and not be afraid to say, no, I don't want this. I'm not interested. And if it means that you're not dating or if it means that you're not in a relationship, then that's what it has to be. But if, you know, I always tell women to go out looking your best. And I don't always take that advice, but I'm not necessarily putting myself out there to date either. I'm referring to the women that keep saying, "Oh, I want a relationship. Oh, I want to get married." Um, sure, those things are great because that's what we're supposed to have. We're not really meant to be alone, and I acknowledge that. Someone said to me recently, a guy, "Oh, well, um, we're not supposed to be with, alone." And I said, "Yeah, I acknowledge that." And he says, "Oh, well, I'm a good guy." Everyone should think highly of themselves, right? But a lot of times people don't think of how they're presenting themselves to other people. If you are dishonest with someone, there are people who are paying attention to that. If you don't keep your word, there are people who are paying attention to that. If you just seem to be talking a lot of fluff, like, empty promises, which is basically the same thing as not keeping your word, but it's exaggerated. Like, oh, I have this and I have that, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, or I went here and I went there, and nothing's like okay. um, People are paying attention though. It's not necessarily that people aren't aware that there could be something. A person may not even be able to exactly pinpoint or tell you what you're lying about or what exactly is wrong. They just know it doesn't feel right. They just have this feeling. And some people will act accordingly. And when they feel like something's not right, they will make the proper adjustments. Doesn't matter how handsome, how much money, what kind of car. Some people don't care about those things. Some people genuinely care about people who have good character, who have integrity, who have respect, self respect, and respect for others. And as you get to know someone and the more you're around people, you get to see those things and show up or not show up. And if they don't show up, some people are like, again, there are people, oh, I'm a nice girl, I'm a good girl, I'm a nice guy. You think that about yourself. There are some people, attitude, talking negative, whatever it is. There are some people who are like, yeah, I'm good. And I know that some people can't handle rejection well, but some people are afraid to reject someone. They're afraid this will be their last chance and things of that nature because of society telling us that we're supposed to have this by this age and that by this age. But for me, it doesn't matter when you accomplish that goal as long as you accomplish it. So if you're 50 years old when you accomplish that goal, then that's what it is. Right? So you didn't do it at 25. If you live to be 75, 100, then you'll still have 25 to 50 years or more to enjoy that thing or that person. You can't go by somebody else's journey or somebody else's path. You have to just stick to your own. And please, Don't ignore the red flags and non negotiable behaviors. It is important, it is very important to pay attention. And again, some people have delusions of grandeur and they really think that their poop does not stink and that they're the bee's knees or whatever it is that they think of themselves. And again, people should think highly of themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. That does not mean that everybody agrees. And you don't have to agree either. You don't have to settle. You don't have to say, oh, well, I may never get a chance, at this again. Sometimes when we allow people in our lives and allow them to stay too long, we're blocking the person that's really supposed to be in our lives because there's somebody occupying that time and space that's not supposed to be there. They were only meant to be there for a season or a reason, for a lesson and or a test, right? Sometimes they, that same personality type will be presented to you to see whether or not you will give into the same, because it's the same person in a different body. So, um, it is unfortunate that she experienced that, but at the same time, she ignored the red flags. And there were a lot, even on the first date. Even what a person talks to you about on the first date can be a red flag. So, and I don't know. We just have to use our intuition and instincts and know that, you know, some people aren't honest. And a lot of times people, when they first meet someone, they introduce you to their representative. And they'll pretend to be something that they're not to impress people. And then over time, they start to show who they really are. So you have to pay attention. That's one of the reasons why, unless you just want to, because again, do whatever you want to do. It's your life. You can do whatever you want to do. But that's one of the reasons why it's important not to sleep with someone as, soon after you meet them. You need time to get to know this person. Because once you go there, then now you have this soul tie and you have this emotional attachment sometimes. And certain things just can't be washed off. You now start to take on their energy. So it's really unfortunate. And the thing about it is, TikTok only lets you record like 10 minutes or less. So she had to do um, 50 videos. Um, so it's basically like 5 hours worth of videos or something like that. No. I can't even think right now. That's a shame. I've not had a day off from work. I'm really tired. Just got off not too long ago, and I have to be up in a couple hours because I went from closing to opening. So my brain is foggy right now, but I feel like I had to do this video um, because it's crazy. You could probably see it in my eyes. I am really tired. So, um, um, yeah, my brain is not doing those calculations the correct way right now. Anyhow, um, let this be a warning for you or a lesson for you. to just be more cautious and know your worth. Love on yourself so you don't get caught up. Love y'all. Later. Mwah.